I am a reformed introvert. That's just a fancy way to say I'm in a long-distance relationship with strangers. And this is interactive as well, but let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever felt alone in your struggles? Like no one could understand your pain. I imagine many of you have. So I know this feeling. I've lived it. I grew up in a tough city surrounded by crime. But in the middle of all that, there was Javi. Javi was my high school friend. Javi's funny, bright, and somehow always optimistic. So one day I asked him, "How are you so happy all the time?" He smiled and said, "It's my Puerto Rican roots." Then he told me this story. China, Germany, and Puerto Rico enter a competition to find underground telephone wires. So China digs 10 feet, finds wires, and celebrates. We have phones 100 years ago. Germany digs 20 feet, finds wires, and celebrates. We have phones 200 years ago. So now Puerto Rico, his country, digs 30 feet and finds nothing, yet still celebrates. And when asked why, they said, because 300 years ago, we must have had wireless cell phones. So the message of optimism stuck with me, and Javi always found light, even in the darkest places. The problem today is that people, especially students, are struggling to be optimistic about relationships. Many don't believe that meaningful connections are possible at all. We fear judgment, rejection, or simply being misunderstood. So we built walls. Maybe some of you have done the same, creating distance and walls to protect yourself from pain. But we need to stop creating distance. And we need to start closing the gap between our hearts. Walls don't just keep out the pain, they keep everything out. It's like being both the prisoner and the guard, trapped in our own creation. And in the process, we shout out the things we need most: connection, hope, and love. That's why I'm here today. As a higher education counselor, researcher, and former Buddhist monk, I found a way to break down those walls. The answer lies in three things: mindfulness, optimism, and actionable empathy. Together, they create what I call unreasonable empathy. It's the bold choice to care deeply, even when it's hard. And this approach has not only transformed my students, but has also changed my life. But what if I told you that this same mindset could also save you most important relationships in just 5 minutes? And what if it all started with something as simple as lazy puppies? Now, I have a confession to make. My time as a monk wasn't about religion. It was about finding myself. It gave me the space to quiet my mind and reconnect. And in that stillness, I realized that the key to closing the gap between our hearts begins with mindfulness. Let's be honest. Life pulls us in 1,000 different directions. We're constantly distracted, constantly busy, and we rarely pause. So one time, when I was a monk, I was leading a meditation for a group of kids, and everything was calm and quiet until, bam, one of the kids made a loud noise. So he was acting up. So I had a choice. I could ignore him, or I could really listen. And something told me to be present. So I did. I listened. And I realized that he wasn't trying to cause trouble. He just wanted to be seen, heard, understood. And under all that noise, he just wanted to connect. This is what mindfulness gives us, the ability to read between the lines and understand what others truly need. It's about saying, I'm here, I see you, you matter. Think of it as being a lighthouse in the fog, helping others find their way. The truth is, many students have a hard time saying what they really need. But I found that if I slow down and really pay attention, I can start to understand what they're not saying out loud. That's why in my sessions, I always begin with mindfulness by saying, tell me how I can help you. I'm here to listen. Science backs this up. A 2020 study found that mindfulness boosts social connections. People who practice it report stronger relationships. Because mindfulness doesn't just help us show up for others. It also helps others show up for us. To continue closing the gap between our hearts, I believe we need to hold on to optimism. And not the kind you see on Instagram, but the real deal. Optimism isn't just about seeing the glass half full. It's about believing there's always a way forward. And I see too many students struggling with this. They often tell me, I'm just terrible at making friends, so why even try? And it breaks my heart to see them doubt themselves. That's why every day I remind them, you have so much potential. Pessimism holds you back, but optimism sets you free. This isn't just feel-good advice. A 2024 study proved that optimism reduces stress, anxiety, and depression, especially for those facing tough times. So think of optimism as sunlight for a garden. It helps relationships grow, even through the toughest seasons. Isn't that a choice worth making? But what if closing the gap between our hearts means putting mindfulness and optimism into action? This is where actionable empathy comes in. So sometimes a solution can come out of nowhere. Like this phrase, lazy puppies sleep awesomely. It's an acronym for LPSA. I know it sounds quirky, but it works. Let me tell you how I accidentally discovered it. So one day I was talking with my student, Sam. He was having a hard time connecting with his aunt. So she was on home dialysis and often in a grumpy mood. Hoping to cheer her up, his family brought over some puppies. But instead of lifting her spirits, she just complained and said, they're so lazy. All they do is sleep. And as Sam was telling me this, something clicked in my mind. I told him, you just gave me a great idea. You know, empathy is not about fixing things. It's about being there, just like those lazy puppies. So with mindfulness and optimism, I thought of the phrase, lazy puppy sleep awesomely. So I continue to explain. L is for listen, and I mean really listen. Not just waiting for your turn to talk, but trying to understand what they're saying. P is for paraphrase. Paraphrase what you've heard. It's a simple way to show you've actively listening and care enough to get it right. S is for share. Share something positive, a similar experience, or an emotion that resonates with how they feel. This builds connection. And A is for ask. Ask what they need from you. Don't assume, don't guess. Give them the power to tell you exactly how you can help. So I explained this in just 5 minutes. And when Sam returned, he tried it. So his aunt was unhappy with her diet. But this time, Sam listened carefully, paraphrased her feelings back, and shared a lighthearted comment. So he said, Aunt, I'm on a diet too, a seafood diet. When I see food, I eat it. For the first time in weeks, she laughed. Then Sam asked, how can I support you right now? She simply said, just be here for me. Think of this method as building a bridge. Each step connects you to someone else's heart. So mindfulness, optimism, and actionable steps create unreasonable empathy. Again, it's a deep, intentional care for others. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. That's why we must act with empathy, even when the path ahead isn't clear, because the destination is understanding, connection, and love. To conclude, I know the world can be overwhelming, and it's easy to create distance. But we need people with unreasonable empathy to create change, to help tip the scale towards kindness. My friend Javi was one of those people. His optimism was contagious, a bright light in all our lives. But months later, that light went out. Javi was robbed at gunpoint and killed, just 5 miles from our school. Losing him broke something in me. My brain shifted, always expecting the worst. And eventually, I was diagnosed with hypervigilance, a form of PTSD. So believe me, I get how easy it is to create distance, to build walls. But Javi's optimism changed me. It taught me to choose hope over anger. Think of it as planting a seed in a cracked soil, trusting it can still grow. You can make that choice too. Even after his passing, Javi continues to inspire me. What would the world look like if we all practiced unreasonable empathy? I imagine a world where people, institutions, and workplaces fully accept each other, flaws and all. A world where no one has to endure the pain and the loneliness I experienced. So today, I'm inviting you to do something simple but powerful. Next time you see someone struggling, say, hey, have you heard about how lazy puppies sleep so awesomely? Or the LPSA tool. Empathy saves lives. And those lives go on to save others. So choose empathy. Choose to see the good in people. Because believe it or not, saving a relationship can happen in just 5 minutes. And it starts with you. Thank you.